Krishna, 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 Hey, Krishna, 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 Hey, Krishna, 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 Rakshamam, Krishna, 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 Pahimam, Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rakshamam, Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Pahimam. Okay, so the Rasa Dance introduction, and we're reading from the paragraph beginning, upon hearing the anxious plea of the gopis, which is right at the end of the chapter. So Jai Prakash Prabhu will start us off in reading.
People, upon hearing the anxious plea of the gopis, the Supreme Personality of Godhead smiled, and being very kind to the gopis, the Lord, although self-sufficient, began to embrace them and kiss them as they desired. When Krishna smiled, looking at the faces of the gopis, the beauty of their faces became 100 times enhanced. When he was enjoying them in their midst, he appeared just like the full moon surrounded by millions of shining stars. Thus, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, surrounded by hundreds of gopis and decorated with a flower garland of many colors, began to wander within the Vrindavan forest, sometimes singing to himself and sometimes singing with the gopis. In this way, the Lord and the gopis reached the cool, sandy bank of the Yamuna, where there were lilies and lotus flowers. In such a transcendental atmosphere, the gopis and Krishna began to enjoy one another. While they were walking on the bank of the Yamuna, Krishna would sometimes put his arms around a gopi's head, breast or waist, pinching one another and joking and looking at one another they enjoyed. When Krishna touched the bodies of the gopis, their lust to embrace him increased. They all enjoyed these pastimes. Thus the gopis were blessed and all mercy by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for they enjoyed his company without the tinge of mundane sex life.
Right, so Krishna is now reciprocating with the desire of the gopis. So we spoke a little bit about this in previous weeks, how the gopis, they had a pure desire because their desire was to serve Krishna. They didn't want any profit from their relationship with Krishna. They didn't want anything in exchange for serving Krishna. See, therefore their service to Krishna is pure devotional service. Yeah, and Krishna kindly accepted, as it says here. So they had a pure desire, and Krishna reciprocated with that desire. Then what's interesting as well is this point made how when Krishna looked at the faces of the gopis, their beauty increased. Yeah, isn't that amazing? So the gopis are already the most beautiful girls in the universe, or in the entire creation. It's said that in another place in the Bhagavatam, that even the most beautiful women of the earth planet do not compare to the ordinary women of the heavenly planets. Even the most beautiful people of this planet don't compare to the heavenly planets. What to speak of the most beautiful apsaras in the heavens, they don't even compare to the beauty of the Lakshmis who are in Vaikuntha. Because there are millions of Lakshmis, Sahasra Lakshmi, in the Vaikuntha planets. So they don't even compare to that. And then the Lakshmis in the Vaikuntha planets, their beauty doesn't even compare to the simple forest girls of Vrindavan, the gopis. So we can only imagine really just how extraordinary these gopis are. We cannot even imagine, actually. And they had completely spiritual bodies because their beauty was enhancing moment by moment. Why? Because their beauty was to serve Krishna. Just like everyone who has a relationship with Krishna, even the Gopas, their relationship was to enhance Krishna's enjoyment. Yeah, by having play, by playing the ball games that they play, by tending the cows. So that's the relationship that the boys would have, the Gopas. So here the Gopis, their relationship is to have this rasa dance, and therefore their beauty is enhancing now because they've come for that purpose. They've come for that seva. And so what's happening is now Krishna is taking them through the forest to the right place where he wants to have the rasa dance, which is in the cool sandy banks of the near the cool sandy banks of the Yamuna. Yeah, so it's a very beautiful scene, and it's described there were different flowers there, and Krishna is wearing various garlands with multiple colors, and the singing is happening. Yeah, naturally there's instruments being played. Okay, and when they reach there are so many lilies and lotus flowers on the banks, and it's interesting how there's often comparisons made between this lotus flower and the lilies in our scriptures. Yeah, does anyone know why what the significance of the lotus flowers are? Why are lotus flowers significant in our tradition, in our Vedic teachings? Yes, Mataji?
Because a lotus flower grows in the mud and doesn't get lipped by the mud, doesn't get soiled by the mud. It just stays pure.
That's right, yeah. So it's an important analogy, important lesson we can learn from the lotus flower. The lotus flower is considered the most beautiful of all flowers, but it tends to grow in muddy waters. Yeah, so in the banks of a river, because there's more mud as it goes up. The more mud is closer to the bank, isn't it? So they tend to grow towards the bank of the river rather than in the middle of the river, because the water is deep and the mud is at the bottom of the river, of course. So even in a muddy place, you can find such a beautiful flower. Yeah, and the beauty of the flower isn't disturbed by that muddy environment. So we can apply that same understanding here because, of course, people misunderstand the rasa dance. They think of it as something dirty or abominable, like mud. But actually, because this is the Vrindavan and spiritual environment, um, it's actually something very beautiful, like a lotus flower, which is seemingly in a muddy environment, but that's not at all the case. So Krishna is actually presenting something which is extraordinarily beautiful and transcendental and pure. So then they begin having the dance. And bearing in mind, Krishna is described at the beginning of this chapter to only be 8 years old. So this further substantiates the point where at the end of this paragraph it says, they enjoyed his company without a tinge of mundane sex life. Because a boy at 8 years old doesn't have that lust of an adolescent boy, you see. So their dealings are just like in that innocent way of dancing, and it's very pure. Okay, so they can have these pastimes, but they're based on lust, but they're actually based on pure love. And as we described before, what's the difference between lust and love? What would be the main difference between lust and love? Anyone like to guess?
I think the difference between lust and love is lust is more on a physical thing, and love is more on a based of spiritual soul. So there is no tinge of physical thing on a lust. On a love. So love is pure, like the gopis' love was more on, like, pleasing Krishna rather than pleasing themselves or pleasing any of their desires. It was more on that scale, and they were willing to do anything for that. So that was a pure love for Krishna. Whereas lust would be you're doing it for yourself and for your body.
Yeah, that's right. So is explain the difference, the key difference between lust and love is that love is selfless and lust is selfish. Yeah, that's the difference. So the activities may be the same. If we think about our lives, or the people, the lives of the people around us, and how they've affected us, we may notice that by the way that people treat us. Sometimes people treat us very well because they want something from us, isn't it? Yeah. So that's because of the tinge of lust which is in this material world. Yeah. Whereas sometimes people treat us so wonderfully, and they serve us so nicely, and that can be considered closer to love, more selflessly. Yeah. So bhakti is supposed to be selfless. It's to practice selfless service to Krishna and to others. Yeah. And so this is actually the nature of this Ras dance, that they wanted to perform selfless service to Krishna, and Krishna wanted to perform selfless loving service to his devotees, the gopis. So that's what makes their relationship so compatible. Because it wasn't based on lust. Although the dance looks like that, they actually simply wanted to selflessly serve each other. All right.
Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, also lust exists in a material world and love exists in the spiritual world.
Yes, that's right. So lust only exists in there's no such thing as lust in the spiritual world. Yeah. And even when it looks like it's lust, it's because of that reason that it's selfless.
Yeah, because the gopis did have a lust, lusty desire, but that's not the lust which exists in a material world. That's only to please Krishna. It's a selfless.
Yeah.
Prabhuji, does that mean the reflection of love from the spiritual world is lust in the material world?
Exactly, that's right, Mataji. Yeah. So when love becomes contaminated by material desire, then it becomes lust. Because material desire means what I want from my body, what it's pleasing to my mind. Yeah, it's based on the selfish. So the gopis, they didn't have that. They came because Krishna called them to come. Yeah, so their desire was selfless. And then when they were there, they wanted to serve Krishna in their form of gopis. So they had a particular form, and that form was pleasing to Krishna, and so they wanted to serve Krishna with that form. Okay, so then the story takes a turn here now in the next paragraph. Is that clear so far then? Oh, that's more clear now. All right. So Jay Prakash Prabhu could read one more paragraph then.
The gopis, however, soon began to feel very proud, thinking themselves to be the most fortunate women in the universe due to being favored by the company of Krishna. Lord Krishna, who is known as Keshava, could immediately understand their pride caused by their great fortune of enjoying him personally. And in order to show them his causeless mercy and to curb their false pride, he immediately disappeared from the scene, exhibiting his opulence of renunciation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is always full with 6 kinds of opulences, and this is an instance of the opulence of renunciation. This renunciation confirms Krishna's total non-attachment. He is always self-sufficient and is not dependent on anything. This is the platform on which his transcendental pastimes are enacted. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 29th chapter of Krishna, the Rasa Dansa introduction.
Thank you, Prabhu. So the story takes a turn here because the gopis now have a sense of pride. Yeah. So what's the opposite of pride?
Humility, humble.
Yeah, that's right. So what is pride then, in contrast to humility? What is pride?
That we are enjoying Krishna's company. We are the only ones that are enjoying Krishna's company. And therefore they felt that we are so good that Krishna is with us.
Yeah, pride is basically thinking that I deserve this. That because of my greatness, therefore, I deserve this. And so this is actually very instructive for us. Even this rasa dance, there are so many instructions within here. Even when Krishna is enjoying to the highest extent, it's very instructive for us. Because to think that we deserve something is very dangerous, because when it's taken away from us, yeah, then we feel mistreated. Yeah. So humility, in contrast to that, is to simply depend on Krishna's mercy. Yeah. To know that Krishna will give me whatever is best for me is the best position to be in. Because then truly Krishna will give us what's actually best for us. If we think that we deserve something better than we do, first of all, we won't get it because we don't deserve it. And secondly, it doesn't please Krishna because this is not truthful. It's not based on, what we really deserve, who we really are, what's really right for us, isn't it? Is it okay?
Prabhuji, why is Krishna referred to as Keshava here? Keshava means somebody who's got beautiful locks, probably.
Yeah, I was just looking into that. There's no description given. There's no further description that I've seen on this. But Keshava has two meanings. You've given one of them. So Krishna, who has beautiful hair. Kesh means hair, isn't it? Yeah. Another one is he's the killer of the Keshi demon. Yeah. So, and the Keshi demon was very proud as well.
What does Keshava?
Sorry.
That's right. Okay. Yes, Prabhu. Now I can understand the context because of the pride.
Yeah, but it's not actually mentioned in the commentary, although that's what Keshav means. Right. So Krishna acts on that pride that the gopis have. He runs away, or he disappears from the rasa dance. Yeah, which is what the next chapter is all about. As it says here, he immediately disappeared from the scene, exhibiting his opulence of renunciation. Yeah. So again, this is also very instructive, because when we think of opulences, what opulences generally come to mind? When someone says, so and so, he's very opulent or she's very opulent, what do we tend to think of? Everyone can join in on these questions.
Beauty, money, fame, grace,
Power, knowledge. Yeah. So Krishna is a possessor of all opulences. That's what the word Bhagavan means. Bhagavan actually means one who has all opulences. So Krishna here is called Bhagavan. And he's exhibiting one particular opulence at this moment, which is renunciation. We don't generally think of renunciation as an opulence, do we? But actually it is, if someone is very renounced, we tend to think, oh, wow, look at this person, it's so renounced, isn't it? So they have an opulence, which is detachment from worldly things. Yeah. or even let's say inner detachment, even if externally someone can be doing so many things, they can be very detached internally. And that's shown when something doesn't go your way, and you accept it for what it is. Not that you try and control the situation or manipulate the situation so that it's all under your own control. So here
Hari Bol.
Krishna, yes Prabhuji, Hare
Oh,
Krishna.
sorry. Yeah, because he's attached to Gopas and Gopis, but same time he's renounced.
Yeah, Krishna is attached to his devotees, of course, but he's not attached to
Yeah,
their service. He's not attached to,
no.
exploiting them. He's not attached to enjoying them in that sense. Yeah. So when they feel pride, he doesn't feel like he needs them. Krishna's not needy. He's not dependent on them.
No.
Therefore, he can renounce them as easily as he is attached to them. He can renounce them.
Yeah. It's not he can't do without them.
Yeah. So because Krishna has a quality which is known as Atmaram, which means he's self-satisfied. He can enjoy within himself. He doesn't need anyone to feel. He's not dependent on anyone. This is another quality of Krishna. So he shows this. But generally, when people hear about the rasa dance, they think that Krishna is like some kind of ordinary. What's the word? What's the word they use sometimes? Like they think of Krishna as some kind of like exploiter of women, isn't it? But we can see here that Krishna is actually very detached. He senses, he detects the pride, and then he leaves. He just disappears. So he's actually not attached. And this we see in all of the pastimes of all the avatars, that this aspect of detachment is there. It's very easy when you see in the pastimes of Lord Ramchandra, in the pastimes of Lord Ramchandra, where he's about to, he's been announced to be the next king. He's going to be coronated the next day. Yeah. And Dasharath Maharaj has it announced that Lord Ramchandra will be the next king. But then what happens on the morning of the coronation? Kaikai he hears from Kaikai and from Dasharath that he has to give up, not only give up his throne, but he also has to go to the forest and live in the forest for 14 years, isn't it? Yeah. And without a moment of deliberation, immediately when he's told that, he accepts full-heartedly. So we see in the pastimes of Lord Ramachandra so many times how he's also very detached. Yeah. And so the same thing we see here. So he's Lord Ramchandra, he's not attached to his kingdom, even though he is the king. And Krishna is not attached to the gopis, even though he is Gopinath. Yeah. But at the same time, he's simply reciprocating with the love of the devotees, whether as Ayodhyapati or as Gopinath here. Okay.
And the beauty is Lord Ram didn't ask for the time to think, did he?
Immediately he was ready.
Whether he can go.
Yeah.
Yeah, immediately.
And he wasn't despondent or anything. He was completely happy. He was as happy as being in the forest.
Yeah, and so sounded like he was. Yeah, and sounded like he was not disturbed at all by hearing that.
Yes. All right then. So unless there's any comments or questions, we can now move to chapter 30. And Kirtika Mataji can read now.
Hare Krishna, chapter 30. Krishna's hiding from the gopis. When Krishna suddenly disappeared from the company of the gopis, they began to search for him in every place. After not finding him anywhere, they became afraid and almost mad after him. They were simply thinking of the pastime of Krishna in great love and affection. Being absorbed in thought, they experienced loss of memory, and with dampened eyes, they began to see the very pastimes of Krishna, his beautiful talks with them, his embracing, kissing, and other activities. Being so attracted to Krishna, they began to imitate his dancing, his walking, and smiling, as if they themselves were Krishna. Due to Krishna's absence, they all became crazy. Each one of them began to tell the other that she was Krishna himself. Soon they all began to assemble together and chant Krishna's name very loudly, and they moved from one part of the forest to another, searching for him. Actually, Krishna is all pervasive.
Okay,
He's
just
in
stop
the
there,
sky.
Mataji. We'll just do one paragraph at a time.
Prabhuji, in my book, this was the last line, sorry.
Oh, there's an additional line in your book.
Yes, Prabhuji.
So in this paragraph, the gopis have responded. This is how the gopis have responded to Krishna disappearing. Yeah. And it's a very strong response that the gopis have, isn't it? So what kind of emotions do they go through now on losing Krishna after enjoying some of the Ras dance with him? Just an open question.
Prabhuji, they've become mad and crazy because
Yeah.
they can't see Krishna, and they started imitating Krishna. Prabhuji, can we see this as an association, that when you associate with somebody, then you'll behave like them?
So the first thing that actually happens, you're right, but even before that, the first thing that happens is they experience loss of memory, isn't it? It said that they experience loss of memory. Loss of memory, that means they just forget themselves. They forget who they even are. And this is what leads them to the only thing they know is Krishna. So because Krishna is more dear to them than their own self, the only thing they can remember is Krishna. They even forget themselves out of this madness of love. Yeah. So when they say love is blind, yeah, this is the fullest expression of that. They've completely forgotten themselves in that love of Krishna. Yeah. So this is how deep Krishna prema is. Yeah. And then, as you said, Mataji, rightly, that they began to imitate the activities of their beloved, of Krishna. An important instruction here for us is that they also began to chant Krishna's name very loudly, isn't it? Yeah. So why is this important for us? Anyone else who hasn't spoken yet?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Is it because the holy name is not different than Krishna himself?
Oh yeah, yeah. That's a great reason, yeah. So the holy name of Krishna is the same as Krishna. Yeah. Can you give an example of that? How can we understand that the name of Krishna is the same as Krishna? Srila Prabhupada, he gives the example of if we chant Coca-Cola. I think sometimes he uses the example of mango. Yeah? Have you heard that example before?
Yeah.
Does anyone know that one? They can tell what that is.
I've not heard it.
Okay. So Prabhupada sometimes give the example of if we are thirsty and we want Coca-Cola, will we get Coca-Cola by chanting Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola? Yes or no? No. No one's had that
No,
experience, right?
no.
Because the name of Coca-Cola and the drink, the substance, is different from the subject.
It
Yeah.
would be amazing if we did.
Well, we'll be happy with Coca-Cola, but we can actually be happier with Krishna, because with Krishna's name you can have that. Yeah.
Yeah,
By chanting Krishna, you have Krishna.
yeah.
This is how Krishna and his name is not different. Or if you say mango, 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 you can't taste mango. That never happened. Yeah, because the subject and the object are different. So Krishna is absolute. Him and his name is the same. He's present in his name, his form, his qualities, and of course in his pastimes. So as we read these pastimes, we're actually present before Krishna. Krishna is actually present before us if we are attentive to it. And so they're chanting Krishna's names very loudly. So not only are they enacting the pastimes of Krishna, Krishna is present, very present for them. Yeah. So Krishna hasn't actually left them in one sense. Krishna has physically left them, but in a higher sense, Krishna is actually still with them. So they're experiencing something which is known as Vipralamba Seva. They're serving Krishna in separation. And this service in separation is even higher than service in union. Yeah. So this is actually our philosophy, that service in separation is higher than service in union. Now just think about in your own life, when you are with someone and you appreciate them and you love them, then you have the greatest times, isn't it? But when that person goes and they've left you, isn't the emotional attachment much stronger? The experience of that person is much stronger in the heart, yeah? As we say in English, absence makes the heart grow fonder, isn't it? Yeah. So it's absolutely true on the spiritual platform. Because look at how their hearts have transformed. They're actually mad for Krishna now. Krishna has done this for another reason, to make them feel even more attached to him, to deepen their love even more after all they've gone through. Yeah. So this is the nature of spiritual love, it always increasing. So service in separation is higher than service in union. Okay. So if you could continue reading then, Kirtika Mataji.
Hare Krishna. So I'll read the last line in my book. Actually,
Sure.
Krishna is all pervasive. He is in the sky and he is in the forest. He is within the heart and he's always everywhere. The gopis therefore began to question the trees and plants about Krishna. There were various types of big trees and small plants in the forest, and the gopis began to address them. Dear Banyan tree, have you seen the son of Maharaja Nand passing this way, laughing and playing on his flute? He has stolen our hearts and has gone away. If you have seen him, kindly inform us which way he has gone. Dear Ashoka tree, dear Naga flower tree, and Champaka flower tree, have you seen the younger brother of Balram pass this way? He has disappeared because of our pride. The gopis were aware of the reason for Krishna's sudden disappearance. They could understand that when they were enjoying Krishna, they thought themselves to be the most fortunate women within the universe. And since they were feeling proud, Krishna disappeared immediately just to curb their pride. Krishna does not like his devotees to be proud of their service to him. He accepts everyone's service, but he does not like one devotee to be prouder than the others. If sometimes there are such feelings, Krishna ends them by changing his attitude towards the devotee.
Okay. So we discussed this element of pride already, and the gopis are aware that they became proud, and that's why Krishna disappeared. Of course, this is actually just for the sake of pastime, for the sake of instructing us what would happen if we became so advanced in spiritual life, and then we thought, well, I'm better than everyone else. I've made so much progress in my spiritual life that, I deserve to be with Krishna. Even if you are very advanced, Krishna can still let you go. He still doesn't need you. And it's not that he doesn't need you. He doesn't need that attitude, that kind of attitude from you. So this is very instructive. And the other aspect of this, of course, is how Krishna is actually all pervasive. Yeah, that's how the paragraph starts. So they're addressing the different residents actually of Vrindavan. Who are they addressing? What did we read about?
Is it like the flowers? They're asking all the flowers in the forest.
Yeah,
Is Krishna?
they're asking the trees and flowers. Yeah. Have you seen Krishna? Which way did he go? Yeah. So you can see the desperation here, having Krishna again. All right, then we can move on to the next.
Sorry,
Yes.
can I just ask a question?
Sure, of course.
This at the very last sentence when it says Krishna ends them by changing his attitude towards the devotee.
If sometimes there are such feelings, Krishna ends them by changing his attitude towards the devotee. Yeah, okay. What was the question?
Krishna is changing the attitude. Slightly unclear. Is it he makes us think in a different way, or?
Oh,
that's
so
all.
yeah, if we read the previous sentence, it may make more sense. So he accepts everyone's service, but he does not like one devotee to be proud, considering himself better than others. If sometimes there are such feelings, Krishna ends them by changing his attitude towards the devotee. So Krishna changes his own attitude towards the devotee. In other words, Krishna has left the gopis at this moment, isn't it? So because that pride was there, Krishna changed his attitude. He saw that he didn't want that pride, and then he left. So he changed his attitude, his own attitude. Yeah.
So what would happen to the devotee? They would fall.
Well, the gopis are already transcendental. So in their case, their attachment for Krishna has increased. Yeah. Because they're performing this pastime with Krishna, their attachment for Krishna has increased. And we see that in so many pastimes, like in the beginning of the Bhagavatam as well. Narad Muni, he's explaining to his disciple Vyasadeva. He's trying to encourage Vyasadeva to write the Srimad Bhagavatam in the first place, and he explains his life story that as a boy he saw Narayan face to face. He performed austerities, and he got the mercy of the Vaishnavas, and he got to see Narayan face to face. But then after seeing Narayan disappeared from him, his vision, and he became mad to search after him everywhere and do whatever it took to see him again. And up until the end of his life, he never saw him, although he continued his devotional service. And then in his next birth, he became Narada Muni. Yeah. So for someone who is in the right consciousness, or someone who is in Krishna consciousness, then they would actually go deeper in their Krishna consciousness. They would actually go deeper in the spiritual life because of that attachment they have, or the attachment they want to increase to Krishna. But someone could do it the other way as well. They could actually, because of that pride, they could turn away from Krishna. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah.
And so that requires, so therefore we require guidance, a lot of guidance in spiritual life too, so that we don't turn away from Krishna. Yeah.
Haribol.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Yeah.
Krishna.
Krishna changed his attitude sometimes to correct his devotees,
Yeah. Krishna always reciprocates with us based on how we treat him. Yeah. So Krishna always reciprocates equally with us.
And the reason he corrects them, because he doesn't want his devotees to go away. He wants his devotees to come
Back to him.
closer, to him.
Yeah, that's right. So if we want to be closer to Krishna, then he'll help us in every way. And if we want to turn ourselves away from Krishna, because it's our desire to be away from Krishna, then he'll help us in every way also. So desire,
Yeah, because
it plays such an important part in our service. Is that right, Prabhu?
Because what happens while you are serving Krishna, but for any reason, if any pride, lust, anger enters within you, so that takes you away from Krishna, and Krishna doesn't want that.
Yeah.
And that's why he's correcting his devotees to keep them closer.
Yeah. So by removing himself from the devotee's vision, one realizes that actually there's something in my heart, there's a desire in my heart which is not appealing to Krishna, which is not pleasing to Krishna. Yeah. Or which is holding me back in my spiritual life. Yeah. Because spiritual life means we should have a pure heart. Yes, Prabhu?
Yeah. Krishna consciousness means realization, isn't it?
Yes, Krishna consciousness is not something we can fake.
Yeah.
We have to have a change of consciousness.
Like doesn't matter how much we practice, years and years, but if you have no realization, then you are not getting closer to Krishna, because you're getting closer to Krishna by realization.
That's right. So Krishna's actually helping us to change our heart so we can purify our heart.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, just a realization I'd like to share.
Yes, please.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhu?
Hare
Yeah.
Krishna. We can hear
It's
you.
like, yeah, okay. I just had a realization like this COVID. Maybe before COVID, we all been doing, especially for devotees, others as well, but for devotees have been doing our services and all that in and out. So we could be proud that, oh, we are nearer to Krishna, we're getting the service, and higher service, all over service, something like that. And Krishna did do that, disappeared from us, that he locked the doors for us. So that is again just like that, how much stronger we are and how much love we got for him. And slowly, slowly, he's opening the doors back to us to go back to for services. That's the relation I got it.
Has
He
anyone
did it
else?
for gopis, but even now he's.
Yes, an amazing point, Mataji. Thank you for sharing. Has anyone else felt that their desire to want to serve at the temple, or their gratitude for the service that they've done has increased over the past year?
I
Yes, for me.
had a similar feeling that I I as you know, I take retreats and go to India, so I had a feeling like I really wanted to go to parikrama for Govardhan, and no matter what, that desire increased. And I'm just like thinking, yeah, it would be nice when it opens up to go. And I think like because we didn't have this access to, for the whole year with the festivals, being full bloom, you just kind of miss the Abhishek, and you kind of miss that association of devotees. And the longing is there that I hopefully this ends and we can have all this back to normal. So like it's we always took things for granted, that okay, the festival come, we go for the festival, and then there's kirtans and there's nice dramas and nice Abhishek, and then devotees association. So we took all this for granted, but now not having it for a year, the longing comes there that we really want to have like proper darshan, bow down to Krishna, and like see the Abhishek. And I think when it opens up, we'll appreciate it more, because Krishna has taken it away because we took it for granted. So like when it comes back,
Yeah.
I think we will appreciate it more. For me, actually, I
Right.
think I will appreciate it more. And like, even now I feel that, how fortunate it was to go to all these yatras and go to all these pilgrims and everything, but now not being able to go for a year. I used to just take it for granted. Okay, Kartik coming, we go to India, but now not being able to go, it just makes you feel that, Krishna can take it away. So we should appreciate that Krishna gave us this opportunity.
So it's a really nice point. This having a longing to again serve Krishna in a specific way. So this it's a really important point, because in one place, Srila Prabhupada says, or Rupa Goswami says, that what is the price for achieving Krishna? He says the price for achieving God's favor is simply one's sincere eagerness to have it. I'll read that again. Rupa Goswami has said that the price for achieving God's favor is simply one's sincere eagerness to have it. So we should just be very sincerely eager to have Krishna's mercy, to have his favor. So that's actually a spiritual emotion. So for those of us who have felt like Madhavi Mataji, or like Champaklata Mataji, my mother, that I'm feeling very eager now to have that service again, to have Krishna's mercy, and appreciating that. So then that's called lolium, or eagerness, yeah, or even greed. It's called greedy, to be greedy for that experience of that service, yeah, to have longing for it. That's the only price. That's the price we have to pay to serve Krishna. So that this is what the gopis are actually doing. That they're really eager to have Krishna's association. They're even asking the trees and the plants, "Have you seen where Krishna's gone?" in their madness of love, they're asking. Yeah. So the eagerness is so strong. Okay, so we've reached 9 o'clock now. So we'll wrap up here on this nice point. And actually, this is why they're chanting. You see, as we read in one of the previous paragraphs. So chanting in this mood of lolium is really important. We should have an eagerness to attain Krishna, and we can attain him by chanting. And so we've actually got a process in spiritual life that is coming straight from the spiritual world. Golokera Premadana Harinam Sankirtan. Yeah, it's a spiritual process coming from the spiritual world. Even the gopis are chanting the names of Krishna. So we're performing that same service which the gopis are doing in Goloka. Yeah. Alright, so Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Yeah.
If anyone has any final reflections from our reading this evening, be nice to hear from you as well.